Hello everyone, it is your Figure Break, and today on your break, we're going to be taking a look at Phat Company's 1/6 scale Nero Kimono version. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your break. Okay, so Phat Company's Kimono version of Nero Claudius. Really excited to do this review. Mostly the fact that there's a few things that I want to point out about this figure that maybe you want to keep in mind if you're thinking about buying this figure for yourself. But the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the outfit of this figure. The sculpt work and the paintwork of the kimono itself is wonderfully done. All of the patterning on the kimono is nice and clean. There's not too much messiness on it. And the sculpt of all the wrinkles going onto the kimono, of it draping off of her, are beautifully sculpted and really show that it's made out of a cloth. Now, there does seem to be a lot of paint defects, not in terms of messiness of the patterns, but more of like micro scratches, pieces of dust stuck underneath of the paint. This seems to be a recurring thing with this figure that I'm seeing often here and there, and they've just become too numerical to count that it's almost worth mentioning. So something to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at the paintwork of this figure. You might have a lot of paint defects. The hair of the figure is one of the better parts of this figure. They seem to be doing the same kind of thing that they did with the 1/4 saber that I have, where they painted onto a clear plastic that makes it have a really cool effect. You can especially see it in the sculpt of these bangs that are beautifully draping on the side of her face and onto her shoulder. You can just see a little bit of transparency in those bangs. And then of course when you get to the back on the bun, there is a little bit of shading in the hair. So of the parts of the figure, the hair is probably one of the better parts of it. The face of the figure is yet another part that's very appeasing to the eyes. She has this very embarrassed expression on her face that is absolutely adorable to look at, with even a little bit of blush that was painted onto her cheeks. And speaking of the skin tone, there is a lot of shading in her collarbone and in her chest area that really shows off her assets a lot. Now, as for the base of this figure, it's a pretty plain base. It does have a little bit of a design that's printed onto it that does match with the kimono pretty well, but it's absolutely not necessary. You can display her without the base. She can stand up just fine on her own, which is a great thing to have because now you have more space on your shelves to put, other figures, for example. The other thing that I'll have to mention with this figure is when you do display her, you probably want to put her on a lower shelf, because when she's on a higher shelf with her tilted head, it looks kind of... It's a little weird. That's the only way I gotta describe it. But aside from that, she can be pretty well displayed just on her own without the base. Okay, so as for a rating of this figure, I'm going to be giving it a 7.5 out of 10. Although mine just has a lot of paint defects on it, that doesn't really account for the other figures, because Phat, again, has been pretty iffy when it comes to quality control sometimes. We especially saw that, for example, in Jabril's figure that I got in, which inevitably I sold to someone else because I just needed space in my collection. However, aside from that, the paintwork that's on her hair with the clear plastic also with it gives off a really cool effect. It is really nice to look at. And then the sculpt work of the kimono herself is just beautiful. It really shows off the assets of Nero, which, well, she has nice assets to look at. Let's just be honest with ourselves here, okay? But again, I would definitely recommend this figure for any Nero fan, but maybe at a little bit of a lower price than what was originally released at because of the quality control being all over the place, and I would still recommend it for any Fate fan for that matter. Okay everyone, that concludes my review of Phat Company's 1/6 scale Nero Kimono version. If you like the review, make sure you leave a like down below, and if you want to see more reviews, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell as to when new reviews are coming out. And I really hope you enjoyed your break too. And I will see you in the next video. See you later.
I would like to thank Dimmick, Neat, Jessica, and Ice9EX for supporting me on Patreon and having videos like this come into fruition. If you wish to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description down below. Thank you.